Why Meghan may be bracing for a new wave of negative headlines. How Rebel Wilson caused a right royal headache for the family over orgy claims. And we have a special anniversary look back at William and Catherine's wedding. We've got so much royal news to discuss this week, you won't want to miss it. Hello and welcome to Palace Confidential. I'm Jo Elvin, and joining me to discuss all the big talking points is the Mail on Sunday's royal correspondent Natasha Livingstone, the Daily Mail's editor-at-large Richard Kay, and the paper's diary editor Richard Eden. Welcome to you all. Now, a reminder to all our viewers that in this time of constant, relentless royal news, the best way to stay in touch is to subscribe to the Daily Mail Royals channel. So press that subscribe button and never miss another episode of Palace Confidential. Now, let's get straight to it. Natasha, this week royal watchers were treated to a special royal portrait from the Princess of Wales that many might not have expected.
Yeah, so it was to celebrate Prince Louis's 6th birthday, and it was a really sweet picture of him lying on a picnic blanket. He was giving a beaming smile and he just looked really happy and relaxed. And yeah, the picture was taken by the Princess of Wales, which is something that royal watchers thought maybe wouldn't happen after the debacle of the Mother's Day picture, in which she kind of had to admit to editing the picture. And there was a discussion around maybe with future family pictures it would be a professional royal photographer that would kind of come in from the outside and take it, but the Kensington Palace have always said, you know, the children are much more comfortable when it's kind of a family photo. It's better for them privacy-wise, and so they obviously took the decision that they were going to stick with that going forward. And
everything was in the right place. No blurry jumper scenes.
Yeah, I actually noticed because they made it clear that there had been no alterations to this picture, and there was kind of a little twig that was on the picnic blanket. I think they'd maybe, I don't know, made an effort so it didn't look too perfect this time.
Yeah, indeed. Now, Richard Eden, there was a lot of discussion on social media, wasn't there, suggesting that the way the picture was released was some sort of fight back from William against the media. What's your view of that?
Yeah, I mean, I should explain. So the normal way that they would release photographs like this would be the night before. It would be given to television companies and to newspapers, websites, with an embargo until a certain time so they could prepare and that sort of thing. And it would be distributed through those international picture agencies. Well, we all remember what happened last time. So what happened this time was very different. There was nothing the night before, and it was actually on the day that Kensington Palace posted this on their official social media accounts, Instagram and X. So it was a different way. So what lots of people have been sort of, you know, there's been conspiracy theories about, oh, this is William's revenge. He was, you know, sick of the way it was handled last time. He doesn't want to give pictures through agencies again, that sort of thing. Yeah. But I should say that Palace sources are very keen to emphasise that that's not the case. Well, what is the case is that, you know, they have largely, certainly Catherine has withdrawn. They've, you know, she made that video appeal for privacy. So they didn't feel, they were uncomfortable about sort of putting out an organised photograph, a press release the night before. But I think they'd obviously prepared something just in case. And on the day, they thought, you know what, it would be lovely to share a photo. And I can say that that is apparently what's also going to happen with Princess Charlotte's birthday next week.
Right. Oh yes, God, they come thick and fast, those birthdays. And it was a very sweet picture. Now, Richard Kay, how the Waleses interact with the media, it probably will change, won't it? But do you think they will want a different approach long term?
Well, I think that we're seeing the beginnings of this different approach. As Richard says, releasing a photograph through social media channels, completely ignoring mainstream media, I think it'll become a pattern. And you can't blame them. They may well say it's got nothing to do with revenge, but I bet it has an awful lot to do with it as well. You know, William would have been dismayed by some of the coverage that came about following the Mother's Day debacle photograph. So yeah, I think we'll see more of this.
Interesting. Now, Natasha, there was some nice news in other quarters for the Wales, wasn't there, as Catherine was given a new title?
Yeah, it was a new special position, which I was trying to memorise before this. I think she's been made a Royal Companion of the Order of Companions of Honour. I think I've got that right.
Well
Quite
done.
a mouthful.
Well done. Yeah.
And it's normally assigned to kind of people that have excelled in areas of media or perhaps science. And it's the first time a royal has been kind of given this honour. And it's a real sign of clearly how highly the King regards the Princess of Wales. And yeah, it's a real special position for her to have.
gosh, how many titles can one grand individual have, Richard Kay? How does this honour system work within the royal family?
Have you had a look at who's who? I mean, there are pages
Not
of
lately.
these titles.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they can have as many titles and honours as they like. And I mean, I think it is significant that as Catherine and William are getting closer to the throne, they're going to have even more showered on them. What does it mean? I don't think it means a huge amount. It's a nice little bauble for them to have. She'll be in good company, although whether she'll want to mix with all the politicians, I'm not so sure, but there are lots of arty people, Judi Dench, magazine editors like Anna Wintour, so there's hope for you yet.
I'm not a magazine editor anymore.
You know, and it reflects her interests in the arts, I think, and public service rather than anything else. But it is interesting because, as Natasha says, no royal has ever held this title before.
And it seems to be as well that they start to dole these honours out to members of the royal family as they gain in seniority. Is that fair?
I think that's fair. It's the royal version of levelling up, if you like. They bestow these honours on them as they become more senior. Prince Philip had a shelf full of them, and the Queen was happy to sprinkle them like confetti on her children as well. So, you know, Charles is following in the footsteps of his mother.
It's a good thing that they don't need to worry about a LinkedIn page, isn't it? Can you imagine? It'll go on forever. But Richard Eden, I know that your colleague Rebecca English actually did predict something like this for Catherine back in January. What do you think it says about the King's view of Catherine?
As usual, Rebecca, you know, has her finger on the pulse, and she I think she knew moves were afoot this year for some honour to be bestowed on Catherine. I think she thought it could be Order of the Garter, but in fact,
that's what I remember. Yes.
Yeah, and in fact, what we've seen was no, it's better than that because it's a newly created title, and that to me it shows that King Charles was trying to go that extra mile to show the importance of Catherine for the future of the monarchy, I would say, and also during this difficult time he's showing the esteem in which she's held.
Wow. Well, nearly 5,000 of you have commented on last week's show, and here are a couple that we wanted to share with you. Now, a lot of you were very fond of our Prince Louis montage last week, and a reminder that if you did miss that, you can check out last week's show. Catherine Lester says, Prince Louis is such a cheeky little imp. I love that word, imp. I love him, and I love that his parents only tried to keep him contained in a slightly bigger box. But most of you wanted your say on the latest Harry and Meghan news. Let's start with someone we've actually heard from before. Hi, Susan Avery, who goes by the name Strong Opinions Are Us, and here's her strong opinion. The irony of Meghan posturing with her banal strawberry jam while William promotes a charity combating food waste is not lost on me. Okay then. Meanwhile, SF Tink, try saying that fast. SF Tink says, every time Harry opens his mouth, you realise how ignorant he really is. By using the word ignorant, I am being very nice. Well, I dread to think what you might say if you weren't being nice. On second thoughts, don't tell me. Meanwhile, lots of you following on from Richard Eden's comments about Prince Harry's plans to make a documentary about Africa. Here's what Tame Fox had to say. I believe that due to the African Park scandal, that Netflix wouldn't touch a documentary on Africa with Harry. It's disgusting that he won't even address the situation. Well, we'll be following any developments on that story on this programme, of course. Thanks as always for your comments. We do love reading them. Please do keep them coming. Now, let's bring my guests back in now, and we'll kick off this section with the repercussions from an interview given by a former royal aide, Samantha Cohen, to an Australian newspaper. Now, Cohen worked for both the late Queen and Meghan Markle, and it's her comments about Markle that have caused a stir. Natasha, what on earth was said?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Samantha Cohen worked for the Queen, I think for around 17 years, so she was incredibly well experienced, and then went on to work for the Sussexes, and then left after, I think it was about 2 years, so she didn't stay with them for that long and did the job, I think, on the request really of the Queen. She's not spoken publicly about this time, you know, obviously loyal royal aides are normally very tight-lipped about these sort of things, but she is Australian and was interviewed by the Harry Herald Sun in Australia, and they were asking her about the allegations of bullying against Meghan Markle, which I'm sure viewers will be aware of. It created a lot of headlines here, even though Meghan Markle and her lawyers have always steadfastly denied it. And she revealed that she was interviewed by palace officials about these allegations, and she didn't go further than that to comment on the allegations or give any more detail, but it's quite significant because we know a number of staff were interviewed but not who. So now it's the question, will this perhaps embolden other members of staff to step forward and talk about it? But yeah, it's quite an interesting thing that she's revealed.
It is interesting. Now, as Natasha says, we should stress that lawyers for Meghan have denied all of these bullying claims. But Richard Kay, the point about that Tom Bower made, that echoing again, Natasha, that he feels that it will embolden more people to come forward. Do you think that's true?
It might, but I suspect a lot of the people who were interviewed for the course of that inquiry had already signed NDA, non-disclosure agreements, which would put them in deep trouble if they were to open their mouths. Also, as Natasha pointed out, Samantha was a very senior courtier, worked at the highest levels of Buckingham Palace, whereas we know for a fact that many of the people interviewed for the inquiry are much more junior staff and may not feel as emboldened to come forward. But look, anything is possible. And if there is a sort of a crack in this, and the fact that this report has been buried and not been made public has annoyed and upset a lot of people who feel it should be. So maybe that may well happen.
Yes, indeed, Richard. Even it does, to many people, feel like it raises more questions than answers them, doesn't it, this whole episode?
It's a very unsatisfactory situation all round. I mean, remember why this investigation was launched. It was after the former aide, Jason Knauf, went public, and those, well, they were leaked, his complaints, and it was reported in the Times newspaper. Then this investigation was launched. And, saying you're going to launch an investigation, but then not giving any of the results, it's, not only is it unsatisfactory for people who claim they're being mistreated or bullied, but also for Meghan, because, these accusations are left hanging there. But, I mean, what surprises me is, why is Meghan not calling for the results to be made public? As you say, she's always insisted that she's got, she did nothing wrong. Well, she should put pressure herself on Buckingham Palace to release the results of this investigation.
Interesting take. So watch this space. Now, sticking with the Sussexes, to a story you've written about Meghan's new podcast plans. What's the scoop there? You might remember that after they quit royal duties, they rushed into these various lucrative deals, and one of them was with the audio giant Spotify for many millions of dollars. They didn't produce much content. I think it was about 12 episodes of Meghan's podcast. When we first heard about this deal, it was with Harry. He appeared on one, and we thought, it could be quite fun. But then poor old Harry, he got banished. It was all Meghan, and it was a whole series. And as you know, I had to listen to each one as part of my work for this programme. What do you mean had to? It was a treat. You got to listen to them.
It was a weekly honour.
You got paid to listen.
Yes. So anyway, but then that deal came to an end. Rather acrimoniously, you'd have to say, because one of the Spotify executives, Bill Simmons, made some very unflattering comments about using the word grifters.
I'd still fantasise about getting drunk with that guy, hearing a little bit more.
Yeah, he did tease that he would say so much more if he had a night out with a few drinks. So that's still to come. But anyway, after that, clearly Meghan was keen for some positive publicity. A few months later, early this year, she announced that she'd signed a new deal to re-release those old podcasts and also make a new series for a very small company that none of us had heard of, Lemonada Media. Anyway, so my story this week is apparently there will be no podcast this year. So we're in a situation where...
Well, it's nearly May. Why bother?
Exactly. Yeah. So, up to a year after announcing the deal, we'll have to wait before we hear anything. And now, come on, this is a very strange way of operating. I mean, take Netflix. They will announce, a new film or something when it's about to... it's gone into production or it's about to be broadcast a few weeks ahead. It's very strange to announce deals and then have nothing. Announcing a deal like this and then not producing any content, any podcasts for a year, it does make me a bit suspicious about Meghan's motives. You do wonder, is she just doing it for the publicity? Hopefully, eventually, she will produce something and I'll be shown to be wrong. But until then, it does make me suspicious.
With all of these projects, Richard Kay, they've got so many on the juggle. Books, Netflix, Spotify, Lemonade Media. They don't seem to be able to keep everybody happy.
Strawberry jam, don't forget that.
Oh, that's it. She needed to make the jam. I'd forgotten about the jam
There's a
already.
growing season, you see, for strawberries. And, they've got so many things. I think her focus clearly is on the lifestyle Riviera, California Riviera stuff that she's very proud of and curating. But I think there's something in what Richard was saying. They're always in a hurry to make announcements to show that she's busy, active, and all these plans are in the pipeline, and then nothing happens. And I think it's a diversion tactic because probably nothing much is going on. And it's sort of a way of sort of taking breath and pausing, just trying to decide what to do next. I thought one of the most significant announcements out of their camp this week was the appointment of a UK and European PR man who does a lot with, who has done a lot with dog food and pet food and things like that. It might be a good fit. Who knows?
Who is this person? Do we know?
He's called Charlie Gibson. We don't know much about him, but he's got a background in television and in commercials, TV commercials. Did a lot with pet foods, dog foods apparently. I mean, a curious choice, but hey, if he can do something to improve their image in the United Kingdom, I'm sure Meghan and Harry will be thrilled.
I would like to wish Charlie Gibson very, very good luck in his endeavours with Meghan.
Yes, well, I look forward to him taking me out for a drink.
Oh yeah, indeed, or at least, you know, maybe giving you some dog food.
Or a jar of jam, of course.
That's surely the next step.
And not making a dog's dinner out of the whole PR thing. Yeah. Sorry, I write them.
Very good.
I'll be here all week. Now, Natasha, to another really quite extraordinary story this week. Now, Rebel Wilson is from the same area of Sydney as me, so the idea that she would have a royal revelation in her autobiography is stunning, let alone what this revelation was. What has she said?
Yeah, it's quite extraordinary, something that I had never expected to be talking about on Palace Confidential, but the very celebrated actress, Rebel Wilson, describes in her book how she was invited to a party by a mystery royal who was apparently 15th or 20th in line to the throne, and this happened back in 2014, so the line of succession was slightly different then, but crucially this royal is not named, so we don't know who it is, but this royal invited Rebel to this party that was hosted by a tech billionaire. Apparently there were people dressed up in medieval outfits, jousting. I mean, I've never been to a party like this.
Sounds really cool, doesn't it?
Yeah. This party then descended into an orgy, and apparently the reason why Rebel was invited by this mystery royal was to kind of get the number of girls up at this party. So the whole thing is obviously very seedy, not something that the royals would like to be associated with. But it's created a bit of a kind of mystery. Who is this royal?
Well, Richard Kay was there, so today we can reveal.
Eyewitness account.
Sadly, it's a bit short on detail, and we've got to take Rebel's word for it that she knows her debrettes backwards and knows exactly where this person was in the line of succession. So we have, with laser-like focus, been looking at those in the 15th to the 20th bracket. We can't name names, but it is an interesting parlour game.
But, I mean, we're not likely to find out definitively who it is, are we?
We are highly unlikely, and because she, apart from anything else, made her excuses and left. So we don't actually know whether the orgy took place or what happened.
I have to say that, come on, I mean, obviously she's got a book to sell, but she's just saying that she was told that it would descend into an orgy. So,
she was offered drugs and she was informed that's why the drugs were there.
The other point to make here is, you know, everybody who knows anything can stay as tight-lipped as they like, but we've seen time and again that modern media, social media, surely there are sleuths sort of uncovering this as we speak.
Well, it is, I mean, remember that Rebel Wilson, the actual book that's for sale in Britain, has already got many lines redacted out.
I've never seen anything like that.
Covered up, because there were claims...
It's Stalinist.
There were claims about Sacha Baron Cohen in it. They've had to be removed. But these, no, it's interesting. I mean, the problem is, would any minor royal want to, you know, launch legal action? It's very expensive. It would be very embarrassing. and then you would also be suggesting, oh, that's me. So I think they'll definitely let it lie.
Okay, well, either way, though, it's kind of a bit of another annoying stain, isn't it?
Well, I mean, she hasn't named anyone in particular.
What do you think, Richard Kay?
I don't think it is. I think because no one's named, and anyone who goes there is going to have a huge difficulty in standing it up, as we say in the profession, simply because there's nothing to fall back on. Rebel Wilson isn't going to help, and her publishers certainly won't. But I suspect it will become an intriguing game on social media.
Indeed. Well, someone, Richard Eden, who is never a stain on the royal family is our Princess Royal. It's the Princess Anne section of the show. Get excited. Now, tell us briefly what she's been up to.
You wouldn't even dare suggest that sort of party to Princess Anne, would you? My goodness, she'd be off.
I'm amazed you've even said that much here today.
No, so from louche parties in Los Angeles, we will switch to lovely green fields of Shropshire where Princess
none
Anne,
of that sort of behaviour ever goes
exactly. Princess Anne has been doing what she does best, which is quietly carrying out engagements and doing what royal family should be known for. She's been in Shropshire. She's been visiting the homes of the founders of Save the Children, which is a charity of which she's been patron for more than 50 years,
wow.
I think. And she's also been carrying out engagements on behalf of her brother as he receives cancer treatment. She took a couple of investitures. She handed out a knighthood to the founder of the Glastonbury Festival, Michael Eavis, and a CBE to the great cricketer Stuart Broad. So
yeah, but what else has she done? I mean, that's a packed schedule, isn't it?
She's been busy.
Yeah, she really has. God save Princess Anne. Thank goodness for her. Well, next week, the Prince and Princess of Wales celebrate their 13th wedding anniversary, and I feel very old now. That's gone very quickly. So we thought we'd look back at some of our favourite pictures of that beautiful day. Well, as I say, time flies. Wishing the Walesers a very happy anniversary, and just time now to thank Natasha, the two Richards, and you, of course, for watching. We will see you next week. Bye for now.